What's going on, y'all? It's Season Love, SENLUV, that's who I be. And welcome to another episode of the Money Healing Monologues. Over here at the Money Healing Monologues, I like to open up a space to speak about the development of communal wealth, health, and excellence. So join me every time I feel like it, where I like to reiterate, dissect, and reteach some things that we just need to talk about as a community. So I encourage all of you guys, regardless if you agree with me, disagree with me, or I ruffled some feathers, comment down below. Let me know your thoughts. Please understand that your opinion is valid and it's only a reflection of your current state of consciousness. And asking questions, expressing yourself allows space for that necessary reconnaissance that is needed for everybody in order to ascend. So this is just one of the spaces that I've opened up in order to facilitate that. Just like, the Get Big sessions and my vast season lifestyle segment. I'm a producer, heart of hearts. I love conscious media. I crave to create the things that I don't see in the media, and these are my ways of doing that on the minuscule scale that I have been able to do it. And as you can see, within all of those avenues, there's been a certain level of evolution that has occurred within my being, thus all of those avenues as well. So today's episode, we're going to be talking about experiencing burnout. And as you know, and if you don't, we are going through season 1 again. So all the topics that I spoke about in season 1 are being re-spoken about now as like a retrograde season. And this is just going to be a season that's in between seasons, if that makes sense, for this growth of this podcast. So like I said, things evolve as I evolve, and I love shadow work. I love deep reconnaissance. I love being able to reiterate the person that I once was and become an entirely new being. I feel like that is such a privilege to not be tied to the past versions of ourselves. So, these are different ways that I have taken back sovereignty over my own perspective, my own ways of being. My radical lifestyle is not a hoax of some sorts that is, polluting itself in a way that is to harm anyone or, make anyone purposely uncomfortable, but it's literally to make room for me to be myself. And there's so much that comes with me being myself, and I'm very aware of, and always have been aware of, the hardships that have been bestowed onto this realm. I remember being a kid and being so confused as to why people would even think of littering, why people would even get the inkling or feeling of littering, because of how that felt to me in my chakra bodies as a kid, right? Like, me littering or destroying the earth in any way felt like literal disrespect. And to come to the knowing that we all literally experience and feel things very, very, very differently helps me step into oneness even more today, because there's infinite perspectives. So there's infinite ways to experience everything. There's infinite ways that we all experience burnout. And there's infinite ways we all perceive the vast amount of topics that I've chosen to speak about here within this podcast. So I hope that for whoever chooses to follow along on the totality of my journey, or just with this podcast in specific, is aware of the freedom that they have within their choices. And that's really why everything That's why everything to give us that freedom of choice back in full effect, and not freedom of choice within a system that was already set against us, but freedom of choice on a planet that is sovereign, period. And it's as simple as that. Your programs can tell you that, like, oh, I'm this and I'm doing it wrong and yada, 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 yada. However, those are your programs, and I don't have to live within the barriers that you create for yourself. That's just tea. That's just facts. That's just straight, like, real shit right there. You know what I mean? And throughout this podcast, throughout me creating the things that I create and just focusing on that, and allowing things to come full circle when they need to, I've been able to gain so much clarity within myself. And I always tell everyone, as long as it's making sense to you, the math is adding up to you, and you're not, masking in order to prove a point or prove your programs correct, then, you're good, bro. Just free yourself. You don't have to feel ways that you don't want to feel. You don't have to put up with shit that you don't want to put up with. And 9 times out of 10, that's why people feel burnout, is because they're holding themselves on these pedestals with these unrealistic ass expectations. Unrealistic ass expectations that were created for you due to the environment that you were subjected to. And this has happened on a higher scale than you think, but it's just on a different plane, a different density. You know what I'm saying? Where it's like we physically can't perceive it with our 5 senses, because we've been disconnected from our original first sense, which is Kilanta. Kilanta being the language of sound, light, and symbols. I've learned so much over this past year. And it's so much to the point where, like, sometimes there isn't much for me to say. I am in the midst of a lot of just day-to-day community work, like, less outside than like I was, during the last period of my life. Because I did a lot of groundwork when it came to, me cultivating community, but now it's been groundwork in the ways of, the virtual meetings that I conduct and, the things that I operate as an operating officer and such. And I would say that allowing this balance of being and learning, growing, has been marvelous to the aspects of me that are, recovering workaholics, that used to itch to, like, what do? I gotta do something. You know what I mean? Because it's those things, those inclinings that I ignored that allowed me to experience burnout in the first place, that allowed me to just, like, literally I'm going. I have like one day off a week, and that whole day I'm like slumped. I can barely even open my eyes, you know what I mean? And I feel like, that's always going to evolve. Like, I already see myself, like, needing to take, like, months off for a while at times. Like, I completely recalibrated the equilibrium of our schedule so that it's not on the whims of the Gregorian calendar, and it's more applicable to the planetary shifts that occur within the ethers, because that's what we are looking to sync with, right? We're looking to sync with the ascension of the planet. And I feel like a lot of people don't understand that tie that, like, is literally attached to why they feel exhausted, like, because you're literally working a schedule that is not natural to your being, and it's also not natural to the planet. And that's why you feel so foreign on your own planet. It's because you're embodying energies, lifestyles, habits, ways of being that aren't applicable to your natural equilibrium. Getting back to your natural equilibrium looks like you getting back to alignment with the planet. It's enough said. I feel that there has been a multitude of perspectives granted in the aspects of manifestation and how we bring things forth into our reality. Some information vague, some information more intricate than others. However, I'm in the business of evolution that is revolved around clarity and source ordained truth. And identifying this has been a deep meditation that allows me to continuously keep my energy bodies cleansed in order to sense these things. A lot of us aren't really tapping into how we feel for real, or we're ignoring the sensations that we're feeling in our chakras and masking them as whims of what this phantom matrix told you that they are. I've been telling you all this since the beginning of season 1, to listen to your body and to understand what it is trying to tell you, what sensations it is looking for you to translate, because that's all things that you have to translate. Okay, those, like I say, those cramps are not just, things because of what you ate and XYZ. If we're in the mindset and understanding that, hey, we are allowed to feel how we want to feel, we can create that with our minds. We're understanding what true godship actually is on a sovereign planet. Then, the perceptions of the ways that you feel are going to be a lot different, because you're going to understand how there are a lot of sensations that you're just feeling like against your will. So you're not breeding these feelings, but they're coming out of nowhere, and they're heavy, very low sensations that usually don't make you feel that pleasant. These distortions of what God actually is are completely blocking us from the forces that be, that are looking to halt the ascension of this planet. They want it to stay the way that it is so that we can continue to be siphoned off of. And, I always say they, but we already understand what they is. And it's the phantom matrix and their agendas, fallen angelic agendas. And if you are triggered by things that we may identify in these episodes, then that's a good indicator as to how you may be identifying with a fallen angelic agenda. And that's okay, because we've all been programmed to feel like, these are the things that keep us safe. These are the things that we deserve, right? These are the things that are the facts, right? But we have to understand that all of that is up for regurgitation. All of that is up for reiteration. How do these things actually make us feel? What sensations do these things actually bring us feel? What sensations do these things actually bring up? Because one could see, yeah, okay, cool, it was a quote-unquote good idea to have us paying rent. However, we are all experiencing anxiety every single month, trying to scrap up the right amount of dollars in order for us to stay in the house that we're already in, on the planet that we already own, that already gives us free resources. Having to go out of our way to get water, fresh water that was placed in plastic bottles for us to consume. These are all active choices that we're continuing to make because we think it's convenient. We think that it's right. And even if we don't think that it's right, it feels like there's no way out of it. This is why we're tired. This is why we're burnt out. It's because we're continuing to put up with shit that we do not want to put up with, that we don't want to do. And the more that we continue to do it and perpetuate these lifestyles, the deeper and deeper in the rabbit hole those collectives are going to go. Now there's ascension collectives that are dismantling, deteriorating, phantom, fallen, angelic agendas and ideologies and programmings, and choosing to ascend our beings and evolve again, ascending and aligning with the planetary evolution process. And there's so many different collectives within that as well. However, there's some collectives that are effective and there's some that aren't. But as a planet, as a totality, we're all not as effective as we would want to be. And that's just a perceivable fact right now, given the state of the world, who and how we are being quote unquote governed, and all of the bullshit that be right now on the planet. You feel me? So one has to continue to question, okay, what is the most effective lifestyle for us to not experience burnout, and what are we willing to do to achieve that? It's not an easy question to ask. It's a lot of detachment. Feel me? Because one could see that like all of these artificial structures gotta go. Everything has to be like literally cleaned off of this planet. And we have to learn how to live sustainably off of this planet. There's already people creating earthships. There's already people creating these sustainable eco-villages. You feel me? There's already easier ways to live that do not take as much energy from the planet as we're taking right now. We're literally just doing it because we're too selfish to care, too selfish and neglectful to actually do anything effective, or just miseducated, misguided, and programmed, which is majority of the beings that are on this planet, sleeping abductees. So, niggas like me, we're looking to continue to just spread the truth and be who we are. We're only, just amplifiers of the frequency that's already alchemizing this planet and uplifting collective consciousness. You feel me? Like promoting, amplifying the truth frequency, the freedom teachings, actual true liberation, and not just liberation in the ways that your textbooks taught you. Not just liberation in the ways that you feel angered to drive to, right? Or not liberation in the ways that burnout has convinced you is the best way to obtain it. Like, nah, we're talking about actual holistic liberation of your mind, of your physical body, and of your soul expression, your soul intelligence. And those are three separate sectors that require its own attention and has its own depth. So, hey man, we're here if you guys are looking for clarity always. My alchemy shop is always open. If you would like personalized healing for you, I do have personalized YouTube videos and podcasts up right now. And I also have some new services that are up exclusively within the Ascension Matrix portal, where I'm partnering with my partner, Infinity, Source Infinity. We are the Infinities. And, we have some joint services for you guys now. And I'm very grateful to offer these spaces of reconnaissance for you guys because, I'm on my journey just like you guys are. And if my frequency, my words, my intellect can help any of you guys, then I absolutely encourage you to, speak privately with us and also fund and invest in the community that we are growing here. Because it's going to be all this and so much more. So much more. And I get to yapping about all that in the other segments and whatnot, so I won't go too much in it, go too much into it here. However, what I will say is that I love you all very dearly. Gratitude for watching, and keep ascending, bro. Keep evolving. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and also comment what you think about this episode, about this topic that we spoke about today. Not necessarily doing it in the format that I did season 1, but you should go back to season 1's episode of experiencing burnout and comment down below your answer to the question that I asked in that episode. I'm not going to tell you what the question is, because you should go watch the episode to figure out what the question was if you haven't already. And if you already watched that episode but you didn't get to comment your answer to the question, you should go back and watch the video again and tell me what you think. Let me know your answer. But on that note, I'll see you guys in the next episode, alright? Peace.